first path, as it were, began in 1938. It was that year when U.S. Representative John W. McCormack approached a young National Park Service historian named Edwin Small about the possibility of convincing the federal government to make the Dorchester Heights Monument a national monument under federal ownership. Now, Dorchester Heights, the monument there, had been built in 1898 to commemorate the evacuation of British troops from the city after the siege of Boston back in 1776. For years, Bostonians celebrated the anniversary of the evacuation every March 17th with a big parade and festivities at the monument. And because South Boston was a majority Irish neighborhood, and because March 17th is also St. Patrick's Day, Evacuation Day turned into a huge party. Nonetheless, Edwin Small wasn't very interested in the idea of a national monument there. In his opinion, and I'm quoting, Dorchester Heights just didn't make very much difference in the final outcome of the siege of Boston. But McCormack pushed hard. After World War II, when it appeared that the NPS still didn't want to enact his plan at Dorchester Heights, McCormack just upped the ante. In 1951, he wrote the legislation that created the Federal Commission that would go on to investigate the possibility of creating a national park encompassing all of Boston's revolutionary history sites. So in other words, since he couldn't get a national monument in Dorchester Heights, he tried to make the whole city into a national monument. And it worked. But why was McCormack so excited about Dorchester Heights in the first place? We can find some clues in his background. He was, for instance, a huge proponent of the New Deal and was really eager to help the National Park Service expand its mission after the passing of the 1935 National Historic Sites Act. McCormack was also really worried about the spread of fascism in Europe and elsewhere. National monuments, he thought, were important defenses against supposed threats to democracy back home. And beyond all that, McCormack grew up in South Boston, just blocks from the monument. He even had a notorious street-fighting, bootlegging older brother nicknamed Knocko McCormack, who for years served as Grand Marshal of, yeah, you guessed it, the annual Evacuation St. Patrick's Day Parade. And here's where we get to something truly remarkable about 1938. It was that same year that the Commonwealth of Massachusetts officially declared March 17 as Evacuation Day. It was the same year, that is, that Massachusetts legally bound up the Irish heritage of St. Patrick's Day with the nation's own revolutionary memory. Boston's demographics were changing, and some people in South Boston worried about their own claim on American identity. Consider that in 1934, South Boston's Irish political machine gerrymandered Roxbury's Ward 9 just to break up a concentration of black voters. So McCormack certainly may have been interested in the revolution, but what we find out is that his motivations for getting the NPS into Boston likely had as much to do with his own political moment, concerns of his Irish American family and neighbors, and most certainly anxieties about race and power that have figured in every facet of Boston's story really since the beginning of its history.